Hello. I wanted to do a video about autogynephilia, which I obviously have. I decided to dress up for this video uh, mainly because of, I don't know, maybe catharsis or maybe just to explain it a little bit better. But I was inspired by another video that I saw of it, and I wanted to give my take, especially since I feel like my uh, um, experience of it may be a little bit different than a lot of other people's. So just let you guys know, it might get a little bit graphic, and this is just my experience, and this isn't going to be everyone else's experience. So I guess how it started is, I mean, I remember from a very young age that I had always kind of had thoughts about it, but I grew up in a very religious, kind of conservative family, and it was pretty much like guys are guys and girls are girls, and that is that. You don't mix it. You don't cross anything. You definitely don't. And for a while, I abided by that. I mean, it was always kind of a little secret, but I don't really think it manifested until I got a bit older, maybe in my like late 20s or so. Um, I eventually it eventually kind of got to the point where, so I'm mainly heterosexual. I like women, and I've been married before to a woman, and when I had girlfriends growing up, when they slept over and we had our fun and this and that, then it would lead to me kind of trying on the panties and like kind of imagining that I was a woman. And over time, it kind of morphed from like me wanting a woman to me being just jealous of them, and me being just very jealous of their beauty and like being able to be pretty and this and that. Um, and so, sorry, I kind of have my notes here. So after I had gotten married, I pretty much pushed it to the side. I married a very religious conservative woman, and she wasn't. I knew for a fact that if I told her something like that, it would pretty much be game over, which definitely was a mistake on my part. I should have been more truthful, and I'm not saying that I'm a perfect person. I'm definitely not. Definitely not. Um, but so we had moved to this place in Texas, and we had befriended a lesbian couple who lived next door. And eventually, I had kind of confessed that I kind of had these feelings and thoughts, and they went with me to go and buy an outfit or two. And I guess it kind of took over a little bit at that point, and it got to the point where I couldn't really hide it anymore. Um, I can't explain why. It was like I just couldn't hide it. I felt like I had this secret and I needed to tell someone. I needed to tell her because it wasn't fair to her. And it pretty much went the way that I expected. She ended up leaving, and my whole family ended up finding out, which was um, very difficult. Um, my relationship with my extended family has never been the same, and my brother and my dad had flown me back home to pretty much talk some sense into me, and that just became a whole fiasco of like me breaking down and them saying that I'm ruining my life and this and that. And at that point, I couldn't articulate exactly what was going on. I had no idea what these feelings were and why they were coming up, especially when I thought, I could just push it to the side and it would probably be fine. And it just kind of came back like there have been times where I've been able to just, you know, purge everything and just throw it in the dumpster. But then eventually I just start doing it again. I just start doing it again. And I don't dress every day. Maybe a few articles of clothing here and there. But to get dressed up like this, it's not extremely common, I would say. So what do I experience when I'm putting on my makeup? It's like I enjoy the ritual. It's like I have such a tightened focus. Like my heart rate goes up, and I'm, you know, if I'm trying to put on mascara, it's just very, very, very intense focus, and I enjoy getting it just right. This is kind of the minimal amount of makeup that I'll have on in order to feel more or less pretty. Or else it's like yeah, I'm a guy in a dress, but sometimes it gets to be a little bit much, and it's like, oh, I don't like this. And especially if I have on like some foundation that doesn't match, it's like, oh God, why am I doing this? This is awful. And especially like painting my nails, like I just have on a clear coat, but like I really like painting my toenails, and it's kind of one thing that I can have on that's not going to be shown, and I can take my time on it and really kind of enjoy the experience, I guess. It's one thing that when I had purged it the first time after my wife left, I pretty much swore it all off, and that was kind of one thing that I always missed. And then when I eventually bought it back again, that was pretty much the first thing to come back, is that I wanted that feeling of having something on me that I could like feel and see, and you know, even if it wasn't very obvious to people around me, which in a lot of cases I do want to keep it a little bit on the down low, but it was certainly something that I could feel and I could admire a little bit. And for me, it's like I say it's autogynephilic because it's like there's definitely some elements to where it's a little bit sexual, but for me it manifests in a different way, to where like I just wanted to feel beautiful. I wanted to feel pretty and elegant and demure and all of those things. I just really wanted to have that feeling. And I remember even, you know, when I had my first crush way back in the day, that it wasn't that I just wanted to have sex with her. It was more that, you know, that I just saw her as so pretty and so elegant. And again, over time, it's less that I wanted to have her and more that I was jealous of her beauty. And that's kind of been a running theme with me. That it's like there's a sexual element, but it's kind of a byproduct. Like if I'm really horny, it's like I don't want to have anything to do with this. It's as if I'm kind of disrespecting it in a way, and I think that sets me apart from many other people, but I don't know too many other people's experience to really say that for a fact. So sexuality. I'm mostly heterosexual, but I definitely have had some experiences with guys. None dressed up like this. There have been times when I've portrayed myself as this, or you know, dancing around the idea of being trans or something like that, of which I'm not. I'm just I like dressing up, and there's also an element of shame to where I don't really go out like this. I used to when I was in a more accepting city, but even here, it's so I'm in Michigan. I'm in Middle Michigan, wouldn't feel comfortable going out like this, but I definitely had some reservations going out before. Um, Even when I was in a more, call it, accepting area, that, I definitely felt a little bit of shame and a little bit of, well, I don't necessarily pass. I'm pretty enough to get, some positive attention, um, but definitely not passable, obviously. And I, I would go out, and after my ex-wife left, there were times when I went out to the karaoke bar, and I would go up on stage like this, and I would sing a song, and it was definitely fun, but I didn't necessarily know how to properly act, I guess. Like, I mean, is what I'm doing now a little bit of an act? I guess a little bit, but not necessarily as much as it was more that um, I didn't feel like I could bring out the femininity that I do feel um, just as my day-to-day life. And the industry that I'm in is certainly um, not as accepting as others. So it's just kind of been more of a little secret. Although I have told a few people here, um, I've had some conversations, but I only really began researching and understanding the different types of male gender dysphoria like today. And I discovered the autoerotic, or the autogynephilia, and then the heterosexual transgender, of which I'm not one. And it really helped me understand it a little bit more, and I figured I would kind of put my story forward a bit. And here's another one that I think may have kind of helped accelerate it. Anal erotica, fun topic. So from a young age, I liked, anal stuff, and that kind of grew a bit as time kind of progressed, and over time it was like I don't necessarily feel enjoyment from regular sex with women, as more, I would prefer myself being penetrated, but I'm also not necessarily attracted to guys that much. So this kind of puts me into a conundrum of, how do I have that kind of fulfillment, I guess, if I'm not necessarily satisfied with that. And I guess that made me kind of close inward a bit. And honestly, it's what I'm feeling, I would say, right about now in this point in my life. It's like, well, if I don't really want either gender, and I just don't necessarily see myself dating, and it definitely fills me with a lot of worry that I don't feel like anyone will understand, nor will I feel that they're accepting. But what would accepting truly mean? That's one thing I don't necessarily know. Yeah, and that kind of brings me to the confusion kind of part. So heterosexual but homosexual experiences, and what I find it strange is that, if I have a one night stand, I don't necessarily like it, because I mean it's just going to be for one night, and I don't want to be in relationships like that. It just doesn't seem right, and it was kind of a point of, I stopped having relationships that were just based on sex, because I don't want to promulgate that further. And so there was this one girl that I was seeing rather recently, and it was just based around sex. she thought I was attractive, and we started hooking up a bit. And as time progressed, I told her a little bit more about. I mean, I never explicitly said that I liked cross dressing, but I guess I hinted at it, and I knew that she would be more or less into it. She was a little bit freaky in that regard. But something inside me says it wasn't necessarily right. And then if I start talking to someone, it's like I get really nervous and apprehensive, and I know that it just wouldn't work out with pretty much anyone. And I had a habit of just ghosting people, which isn't fair to them. It isn't fair to them. So I'm not entirely sure where to turn. And I guess I just wanted to be my own girlfriend, is more or less the truth, and kind of where I've been at for a bit. Let's see. Yeah, and then the effects on my family. Yes, it's been very detrimental. I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of, call it unspoken words to me. Like one of the last things that my grandma said before she passed was, have you quit that porn stuff? And whereas I think that porn may have had a part of it, I think a lot of it was just over time. I got jealous of women, very jealous of women. Like, how can they be so pretty and sought after? And I mean, as a guy, I would say, in terms of women judging me, I'm somewhere between a 6 and a 7. I can get female attention, and they think that I'm rather attractive if I really try, and I'll take this off later on, and then you'll get to see, because I don't necessarily think it's fair that I'm just dressed up like this. But I do get female attention, not as much as other people, but I do, and I just feel like there's not any chemistry past a certain point, because there's going to be a point when I need to tell them that, okay, I dress up like this, and well, it's not going to go much farther than that, I can tell you that. Yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about that. I'll be back in 1 second. And this is what I look like regularly. So I guess any final thoughts is that it's very difficult to deal with. Very difficult to deal with. And I would like to hear what you all have to say in the comments about the topic, and any words of wisdom or encouragement. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if your experience has been similar, if it's been different, I'd like to know. So y'all take care.